So, top 10? Top 5?
So, this is, whose list was this? This is Doc's list. We're doing
Well, Doc's idea.
top 10, yeah, his idea. Top 10 DC, I can't even say the word DC Batman villains. Okay? And so, look, I'm going to give a brief explanation of the ones that I like, and then you can tell me about them. So I like Scarecrow. I think that in some of the things I've seen, that character's kind of scary. There's a lot of, I don't know, just weirdness around that character. I definitely like Harley Quinn. I like Poison Ivy. Did I say? I meant Uma Thurman. I mean, I like Poison Ivy. But I just really don't, because I mean, the truth of it is Batman is very cool. I just find it difficult to kind of get involved with DC's thing. But anyway, we're going to turn it over to Doc. You're going first?
No, he's going first.
Oh,
I'm
Drake's going first. All right,
Drake's going first.
This is going to be interesting. You ready?
Okay. All right, my top 10. I'm not even bothered with honorable mentions. I'm going to let Doc have all the honorable mentions here because there's 2 or 3 characters that are not on this list there's 2 characters that are not on this list that...
I can't promise they'll be in my honorable mentions.
Anyway, all right, so number 10 is going to be the Scarecrow.
10. Interesting.
Scarecrow's 10. He was cool. He's always been fun. And we did that short video with Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb, and
We didn't do it with them.
no, but we did it about. We did Long Halloween and Dark Victory, and the first book that they did was a Halloween special that came out like the year before they decided to do the Long Halloween, and the villain in it was Scarecrow, and Scarecrow is just, I really like him, and the Tim Sale doing the art, and he's got the mask with the crazy gas stuff that he uses that makes Batman and all his villains hallucinate, and you don't really have a clue. It like warps reality. It's almost like a little bit like Mysterio from Spider-Man. And I really like him. And in the movie, was it one of the Christian Bale movies where he's worked out where all the Arkham, he empties Arkham, and Batman's suffering from the gas for half the movie, and he's running around, and I can't remember who played the part of the Scarecrow in that, but it was cool. He had that burlap sack bag that he wore on his head. He was in the Sin City movie too. He's really popular as like a younger guy, but I liked it. I like him. He's that's my number 10. Number 9 is Mr. Freeze. Really? That's funny. So, number 9 is Mr. Freeze. Stay cold. Wasn't that Arnold? Didn't Arnold play Mr. Freeze in the movies? So, I just like Mr. Freeze from all this stuff.
Cillian Murphy? He's that one guy that...
He played Scarecrow.
Have y'all ever seen...
You talking about,
You know, where they have the little hat?
yeah.
You haven't seen that show?
Peaky Blinders? I've watched a little bit of it.
So,
Wow.
I really like Mr. Freeze. And the story behind him about like his wife, or it's his wife, right? Yeah. And just all the circumstances around his origin. And he's one of those villains that he's a bad guy, but you feel bad for him. But Batman's just always beating him. He's like, I like him though. But he's a fun character. And going back, because this all goes right back to Tim Sale's artwork. This is like, he was like the guy that really put Batman on the map for me. Like, I always liked Batman. Kelly Jones' artwork on Batman was amazing, but Tim Sale, he does a rendition of Mr. Freeze and that Long Halloween stuff that is just, it's fantastic. So that's number 9. Number 8 is the Riddler. In the Hush story, the Riddler's really, really, really popular. And back in the day, he was like all the way back to like when I was a little kid watching the Adam West Batman TV show. The guy that played the Riddler what was his name? It wasn't Ernest Borgnine, but it was somebody like that. He'd come out there with that little green outfit on, and he'd be like, and he'd have his little cane in his hat, and he would come up with all these crazy schemes and riddles, and man, he was just, and even in the latest movie, the Batman with Pattinson, the Riddler's the bad guy in that. I really liked it. I thought it was great. And he was almost like a serial killer Riddler, the way they did him in that. It was really kind of cool. Number 7 is going to be Harley Quinn. I would have liked to put her higher, but there was no way to put her higher on this list. And so Harley Quinn, I mean, a lot like what Bones said during his female characters. She named the bat Puddin'. So Harley Quinn, I really liked her, and her baseball bat's named Puddin'. And she walks around going, "Oh, Mr. J, oh, Mr. J, oh, Mr. J." I love it. I've read the comics, and what is even better about the comics for me is the last couple series. Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, who I'm friends with, have actually been doing the art, and Amanda's take on her and the comics is awesome. And she teams up with some characters I really like. Her and Poison Ivy do a lot of stuff together, and they've had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And she's almost like, when she's not around the Joker, she's could almost be one of those like vigilante hero types. Like almost be like, oh, especially if there's children or somebody that can't take care of themselves being abused or something like that. So you almost feel like she could turn the corner and be like another Catwoman person that kind of walks both sides if Mr. J isn't involved. So Harley Quinn is going to be my number 7. Number 6, this might upset Doc a little, but number 6 for me is Bane. Bane, I mean, like Doc has mentioned in the past, he broke Batman's back. He beat Bruce. But in the comics originally, when they brought him in and that whole storyline was awesome, but Bruce did get to come back. He ended up being the guy, and he's interacted with Bane again in the past that, and he's been able to best Bane. Bane is was one of those characters that a lot of people looking in took for granted that he was just this big guy that used this crazy steroid injection to be really powerful and pump up his strength and be able to beat on stuff. And they portrayed him in the movies as being kind of a little stupid. But the reality with that character was he wasn't stupid at all. He was a mastermind. He had been figured out how to use all these other people and pushed all this stuff to just basically wear Batman down and just beat Bruce into a submission until he finally comes in and is like, "I'm the one doing this, and I'm going to kick your ass now."
So why did he wear the cup on his face? Because it was like, I'm sure there was like an empty locker somewhere.
He doesn't wear that in the comics.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5. This is where our list will now diverge. Number 5 for me is Killer Croc. From the Hush series and a bunch of other stuff, I just really like Killer Croc. And I have this thing with alligators and crocodilia and stuff, and it goes back to being a child where they really just scared the living shit out of me. And I don't really like that. But on the side of that character, it's like never fails. It's like those two have some of the coolest combat and some of the best fights. And the artists that I've seen do them, like back Tim Sale and Jim Lee, have made that character look so cool. And the Jim Lee Hush storyline without that stuff going on, that's a character I've always, if there's a Killer Croc issue and a cover, I'll pick it up and take a look at it, and I'm always on the verge of buying it. So that goes back strictly to art. All right. All right, number 4. This is, now keep in mind, this is my top 10. So number 4 for me is Two-Face.
Who?
Two-Face. Going back to Long Halloween, and it seems like the preface for a lot of stuff here, that, like Doc and I had talked about in this video we did, that's out now. You can watch it. If you haven't seen it, go look at us talk about Long Halloween. It's great. Then come back and finish watching this one. Two-Face, that was like the Two-Face origin, but Two-Face is like, he's trying to do the right thing. And the whole concept of the character where after he gets the face deal going and he's got the coin with the X on it, he's flipping the coin to decide, he's trying to be fair. And he's still, even when he's psycho crazy, he's still trying to do the right thing and be like, I'm going to give you an option. I'm going to flip the coin and you have a chance. Now, granted, it doesn't work out for everybody, but that character is just so cool. The beginning, you feel bad for him and his whole life is falling apart, and then he comes back and it's almost like, it's very similar to like the Joker, where he's all messed up, but the Joker's just so far off the deep end, it's not even funny. All right, the top 3. Okay.
Haven't heard Mr. J in this list yet.
So part of me wants to move somebody from somewhere to something just because there are two characters that I like a lot. Although the Joker to me is really popular. These other two characters, I almost like them more, even though Batman is all about him. So this is going to be me pulling a Doc from the Spider-Man deal, and I'm going to put Joker at 3. Just to be different. I love the Joker and some of the storylines with him, like Death in the Family. That, not the new one, but the original Death in the Family, where he kidnaps Jason Todd's mother and he beats him with a crowbar and leaves a dynamite in there and blows him and his mother to Kingdom Come. And they die. And then Killing Joke, where he decides he's going to be just that guy. He knocks on Barbara's door, at Commissioner Gordon's door, and Barbara answers the door, and he's like, bam! Doesn't wait to see who opens the door. He doesn't even care who opens the door. Just whoever opens the door, I'm going to shoot him. He shoots Barbara right here, right through her spine, cripples her. So she goes from Batgirl to Oracle. And it's like, just totally changes that girl. And Commissioner Gordon just sitting there like, what the hell? And all these different storylines that go on with the Joker and all these different things he does. And like we alluded to in the conversation about the Long Halloween, he just soon blow up the whole city to get the guy that's making him look like he's not the top bad guy in the world. So, and the things that he does is just beyond psycho. In fact, Doc, when we're done with this, I want you to talk about, wasn't it you that said there were 3 Jokers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to explain that again on this. So he's going to be number 3. All right. Number 2. This is Batman now. Number 2 is Poison Ivy. I explained this in my top female characters. She is such a badass villain that I would edge her just in that. Poison Ivy is the character, one of the characters in the Batman family of characters and villain types that I just, if she's in there, I love it. And based on the artist, I'll track down different artist renditions of her. And we talked about the fact that, you know, she could just with a whim and her ability, it's mostly men. I don't think she can control women. But when in the Batman unit world, you don't really have to control that many women. Because the men you're controlling can take care of almost all of the women that are involved in that particular Batman family. And like we talked about in the Hush storyline with her controlling Superman, but she does it again in Long Halloween, and it's like every time you turn around she's manipulating somebody. So that brings me to number 1. And this just goes back to just my personal favorite. Number 1 for me is Ra's al Ghul. And I really enjoyed how they did the movie, but the comic versions, some of my most liked Batman stuff near the end of the run and in the detective run before New 52 started was right after they killed Bruce and all these Ra's stories are going on. And then Talia comes in and Bruce and Talia have their relationships. And then you have Damian, Batman's son, and then Ra's is the grandfather of this borderline psycho Robin and all this other stuff going on. But Ra's is this kind of like big crime boss, bigger than life, like not crime boss, but he's like he's almost like Bruce's perfect adversary because he has the resources and all this other stuff at his disposal, and he disappears and then shows back up again, and it's just like you think he's done and then he's back again, and you never know if Talia is really on your side or if she's working for her dad, and Ra's is just one of those characters that I've always loved. Ra's, so Ra's is my number 1.
I want to know why Michelle Pfeiffer wasn't on your list. I mean,
She's not really a villain. Catwoman's not really a villain anymore at this point.
Yeah, they're married.
So Catwoman and Harley Quinn are not on my list because Catwoman's not really a villain to me. She started that way, but realistically, she's married to him. And then to me, Harley Quinn's not really a villain anymore.
Yeah, Bruce and Selena are married.
Harley Quinn's not really a villain anymore. They kind of have played along that she was manipulated by the Joker, and she's really more of an anti-hero, more of a hero.
Like what we were saying, yeah.
So they're not on my list. My honorable mentions. Number 1's gonna be the Penguin. I just don't think the Penguin goes on the list. To me, he's not really a villain, a super villain. He's a bad guy, but he's a representation of crime. He's a crime boss who's just hanging out, and he's always there, but he's never really like trying to take over the world. He's just trying to make money. And so Batman's like got to deal with the crime, and he's doing these bad things, but he's not really one of the top 10 villains. Second is going to be Killer Croc. I like Killer Croc. He's one of the most visually stunning, like you said, the art, visually stunning characters. But the thing about Killer Croc is there's some great Killer Croc stories. And there's a few writers that get Killer Croc, but generally when writers write Killer Croc into a story, they don't hit it. They don't hit the measure. They don't really know what to do with that character super well when he's put in the story. And then my other honorable mention is Zsasz, which might surprise people. I love Zsasz. I mean, I hate it. He's a bad guy, but I love Zsasz, and this is why I love Zsasz. I love when Zsasz is in the story because Zsasz, he's not been in a lot of stories, but the thing about Zsasz is, I have a like for just some simple stories where the hero comes in and beats the crap out of the villain, and you just have an evil guy, and that's what Zsasz is. Like Zsasz never has a chance. He's a bad guy. He's a serial killer who's killed a lot of people, and he puts a mark on himself every time he kills somebody. He's covered in marks. But every Zsasz story, he's about to kill somebody, and he's like, I'm a serial killer, and I like killing people. And then Bat just comes in and denied, and he just beats him the entire issue. And it's like cheap candy. It's just like, I love it. I just love seeing this purely evil guy get the shit beat out of him for an entire episode. I just love it, man. I don't know why, but he's not one of the top 10. So that said, number 10 is going to be Poison Ivy. Not a big Poison Ivy fan. She's okay. She's Poison Ivy's cool. She can control people. She's done a lot of crazy things. More recently, she's become less of a villain as well. They've kind of written her differently. Same like they did with Clayface. They've done a few of those that way. She's really tied with Harley Quinn. And a lot of her things, the way she's been written in a lot of different ones, she's more like protecting the earth and plants and all these things. She's about ecology or whatever, and she's in her own little world. She's got some really cool powers. She can turn people against you. But and she's a villain, so she has that sort of history there, but she's not that very high on my list. Number 9 and number 8, we both got the same number. Number 9 is Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is cool. Mr. Freeze he looks cool. He's just cool. He's weirdly cool, which he shouldn't be because he's a German guy. He's got like this Nazi vibe almost, but he's just like this cold, just like, he's just like his character. He's cold and he's like trying to freeze you, and he's just like, whatever, I'm gonna get you, Batman, and whatever. And he just has no sense of humor. It's like the Robins will be in there making jokes. He has just no sense of humor. And it's just like this guy. It's just like, but he looks cool with his helmet and his little circle glass. And then Batman always has to go gets frozen. Then he has to go and get the special suit to deal with the cold. It's always an issue. The cold's not always an issue for him. Number 8 is the Riddler. Man, the Riddler could be so much better, but they've done so much hokey crap with the Riddler and the way he looks. Overall, the Riddler he's an intellectual. He's intellectually even with Bruce Wayne, like Batman. He's brilliant. He's got a psychological issue where he can't help himself but leave hints. Like he has to leave hints. But they've done so much hokey stuff with him. But there's been some really good stories. Like, man, one of the coolest stories they did in DC. I'm a huge fan of Scott Snyder's DC run. They did Batman Year One, was an early Batman, and he takes over the city. Like the Riddler takes over the entire city, and Batman, like for several issues, is like going through all these labyrinths, getting deeper and deeper in to kind of trying to figure out how to get control. Because he just like locks the whole city down, takes all the power out. It's like they have no power. It's like the beginning. It's almost like Cataclysm, and he has control of the city. And then he's like, every day he'll come out with a riddle, and you have to answer the riddle. If you answer the riddle, then he'll whatever the reward was, and if you don't, I think you get killed. He's just a bad guy, but they've done so much hokey stuff with him that people don't take him seriously. And so, and the riddle me this Batman kind of vibe, it just doesn't work. Number 7 is the Scarecrow. Yes, the Scarecrow is a beast. He shouldn't be. He's creepy. He's a skinny guy. But here's the thing, man. So much in this life, so often people do things because of fear and make decisions because of fear. And this guy weaponizes fear. And it's like people do things in this world already. People hurt the people close to them because of fear. They act rationally because they're afraid of things. They're just insane. Because of fear already is a massive, powerful motivator. This dude weaponizes that. And it always he always screws Batman up. Batman comes back, but he always hits him with the fear toxin, and then he's all freaked out. Or he hits somebody else in there with the fear toxin, and they're all on the loop for a while because they're seeing their worst fears and all these things. Always. And he's got then when he gets the fear toxin is when you get the really cool art with all the weirdly creepy stuff. I mean the Scarecrow does some crazy stuff. Then number 6 is going to be the Batman Who Laughs. He's got to be on the list, man. He's just that awesome. The
I haven't read that, so I couldn't put him on the list.
issue is he would be so much higher, but he's a newer character and he's dead now. They've only used him. He's only been a few stories. If you don't know who the Batman Who Laughs is, I did a short on it basically. But in an alternate, they did an entire crossover an event called Dark Knight's Metal. Basically, they said, okay, New 52 has a multiverse, right? There's 52 different alternate universes in this multiverse. Well, basically, they introduced there's something called the Dark Multiverse, which is basically the backside of that map. It's just darkness. It's all the nightmarish worlds. So all these worlds have gone to crap. And so then basically this demon god god named Barbados has been setting all this stuff up, whatever. He brings all these. One of his second right-hand man, because he brings in all these nightmare versions of Batman, is the Batman Who Laughs, which is Batman who is affected with the Joker toxin. Bruce Wayne, who is infected with the Joker toxin and becomes like an insane Joker guy. Like the most lethal version of the Joker toxin. Like the first thing he does, he goes to the cave and he calls all the people together. And he's like, he calls them together and he's like, the family, the Bat family. And he's like, guys, like I've been hit by this Joker toxin and whatever. And, we got to fix this or whatever. He's like all hunched over in the corner and like, they're like, okay, we can, we can fix this. We can work together. And he's like, oh no, you don't understand. Like it's already too late. He turns around, mows them all down with a machine gun, just kills all of them, just kills the entire family. He has freaking Robins on chains, like cannibalistic, like dog demon Robins on chains. This dude is insane, all right? And it's the biggest thing because it's like, it really, in the end of the day, Batman would be his worst enemy. And it shows like this, when this guy with the insanity of the Joker, which we'll tie in a little bit more about the Joker and the tie-in between the Batman and the Joker, how dangerous Bruce Wayne is. Like this dude becomes a multiversal threat with his brain and all these things, and he's nuts. And the character just looks really cool. If they had used him for more, he would be higher on the list. But the problem is that he was in a few stories, then he dies. Number 5 is going to be the Court of Owls, but you don't really know about that. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Scott Snyder New 52 Batman run. Greg Capullo. Perfect art, beautiful art. The Court of Owls, man, was the craziest, and now they're the perfect villain. Because here's the thing, it's a group, and there never is a singling out on one person. Batman's been this character for years. They basically introduced this like elite secret society that's been in the background. He finds out like they've been here forever and they've been manipulating him the entire time for thousands. Like his entire family has been tied up in this for the history of the Waynes and Gotham, and they've been doing this for hundreds of years. And he didn't know about it. And he's like, what? And he's like, his first introduction, he's like, I know everything about Gotham. And he's like, what the hell is this? And he gets like dragged down into this labyrinth and under the ground, and they kill him basically. There's a whole other thing there, but then they have all these villains, and then they continuously keep coming back, and it's like they're just their masks are creepy, and they're perfect because they don't die. It's a group. It's a mission. So you keep kill. He can go in. There's a stories where he goes in and like eliminate. There's like a guy who was working for them who turns around and he eliminates the entire Court of Owls, and it comes back in another episode because it's a group. There's no one person. There's no one guy. So there's no main character. No one's singled out. Oh, you're the leader. There is no leader. And there's just these evil people. And then they just are in the scenes doing all this creepy stuff. And it's like, what the hell are these guys
you're saying
doing?
that run is more reality based, is what you're saying?
Basically, yeah. That's the Illuminati.
It's like the hand from
I gotta say, I've noticed some interesting artwork on the back of that list. Is that thing for sale or what? I mean, can I archive that?
If you want
whenever
to.
you're done?
If you want to, yeah.
Okay, so we might auction this in a couple of years. If
it's not that great.
The channel does that well.
Scribbling. Number 4 is going to be Two-Face. In The Dark Knight Rises, this is a famous quote. In The Dark Knight Rises, he says, "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain," which becomes an infamous quote that actually originated from The Dark Knight Rises, which is what Two-Face says. Which is and it's so true, and he's the emblem of that. He's not the emblem, but he's the embodiment of that. That this guy is fighting so hard to stop crime as his friend of Batman. And this story's been told forever, but as a friend of Batman and Bruce Wayne, he's tied with both of them, and he's fighting so hard to stop crime. He eventually becomes the crime itself, and it's like a lesson, which is so true about life, which is that if you can work so hard to stop something or not be something or change something, and fight so hard and lose sight of yourself, you can become worse or just as bad or worse as that thing. And that's the story of Two-Face. And so he's just he's always in there, pops up, he's here and there, he's this crazy character, but his overall classic story and classic villain, Long Halloween, classic, awesome story. And then it just shows when somebody breaks, man, something breaks this guy and this guy gets broken. No, I already know the order. There was something else I was going to say here somewhere. Okay. Number 3, Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul, however you want to pronounce it. He is. Him and Batman have a really cool respect going on. He is, in ways, as far as on a surface, one of the best kind of villains for Batman, because he's this immortal character. He has the Lazarus Pit, which allows him to come back all the time. He runs the League of Assassins. He's got all this ability. That's why he calls the Batman a detective. He respects the Batman. He understands the Batman's capabilities. And he's always popping back up, and it's like there's always this sort of fight, and he's a thorn. He's there, like he causes trouble or whatever. But at the end of the day, like he's the one who brought Jason Todd back to life. Like he respects Batman. He took responsibility. He felt it was, and I don't remember the whole backstory, but later on we come back with the Red Hood and all. He felt it was his fault that Jason Todd got killed by the Joker, and so he brings him back to life in the Lazarus Pit as a payback and out of respect to Batman, Bruce Wayne. Classic character, been there forever. Really cool. He looks really cool. He's got the sword. He's got this he's just got this like regal sort of just like honor kind of to him. That's really cool. Detective. Number 2 is Bane. And I'm surprised he was so low on your list. Listen, what you were talking about earlier, you were talking about Bane, and you did everything. Bane, but he didn't break Batman's back. He broke the bat. And here's the thing. It was like at least a year-long build-up into this. They didn't show, he was building up into this classic Nightfall storyline where he comes in, he releases all of the criminals from Arkham Asylum and Blackgate to come at Batman over time and wear the Batman down. And he's moving in the shadows with all these things. And then in the penultimate episode, when Batman is exhausted, like Batman's already said, Batman says, listen, like he's like, I'm ready to die. And he goes home, and sitting in his house is Bane. And he's like, all right, now we're going to fight. Like, I'm here to fight you. And he's like, why do you want to do this? And he's like, because I can, you know what I'm saying? I want to show you that I'm the beast. And so then he beats like the brakes off of Batman. He was going to kill him. And then he's fighting him, and he's like, man, you're weak as piss. And so he goes, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to break you and leave you alive, because that actually hurts you worse. And he breaks his back, and from there she wrote. Obviously, Batman comes back after time, but for a while there, he's like, he screwed up. And he mentally screwed him up. And then here's the thing: there's several other different stories that he's done. There's another version that did more recently where he did something similar. He took over the city and did something similar. And in that one, and this is the more recent comics, he killed Alfred in front of Robin. And screwed up Robin, and and Alfred's now he's dead right now in the comics. Damian Wayne, yeah, and he's dead in the comics. But he's that's the thing, right? He's intellectually, strategically, he's on that level, and then physically, he's more powerful than Batman, and he's got skills. So he's this dangerous thing to Batman. You cannot, when Bane shows up, there's some times where he gets pwned. There's some times where he just gets smacked around, or he gets weakened a little bit. But overall, when he shows up, it's an issue. Like, it's not Batman. Batman never just like gets past him easily. Like, there's a struggle there. He's a problem for Batman. And then number 1, I mean, come on, listen. Number 1 has got to be the Joker. I mean, Bane broke the bat, but Joker's done so much worse to him because he didn't hurt Batman. He hurt the people that he cared about. I mean, all the stuff that he's done to him, death of the family, where he comes back. I mean, Barbara Gordon, the Killing Joke, he comes in and he's just done so much crap, right? And then he's the ultimate duck up, which is what you see in the Killing Joke, which is the point. His lesson in the Killing Joke, he's trying to tell Batman is, we're basically the same. Like, you're one bad way. Everybody's one bad day away from being me. Like, people look at me and they go, you're this crazy serial killer guy. Someone could come in your house and shoot your family and you would turn into me. And that was a story which they play there, which is Batman loses his parents when he's a little kid. And they play the origin story of the Joker in this universe. Because I don't know if it's canon, which is he's this comedian who's like struggling, and he loses his wife and his unborn child to the crime, and so and then he's in so basically like these people, two people, and the core of it is these two guys are at the wrong place at the wrong time, and because of this tragedy, they decide to teach the world a lesson, but they go in two different directions. Batman goes and tries to stop crime. He goes crazy and is just going to try to like, and everything's a joke. And he's just like, the biggest joke is all of this is pointless, right? And his character's it's gotten to so much that the people have actually, there's been conversations about, and it's actually been hinted at that the Joker knows he's a comic book character. People have hinted the Joker knows he's a comic book character, and that's his big thing. He's got this final joke, and the final joke is none of this matters because we're all not even real. It's a comic book, whatever. And there's been hints at that in stories where there was one specific story where he said some stuff like that. Where he's like, y'all don't even get this is pointless, whatever. It's just this dichotomy, and that's why the Batman Laughs is so cool, because it shows you that when if you put the Joker and the Batman together, the coolest thing about the Batman Laughs is he brought the Joker and the Batman together as friends not friends, but allies. And at the end of that crossover, at one point of that crossover, he falls down under the mansion, and he's like fighting the Batman, and he's like beating the crap out of the Batman. The Batman Who Laughs says, and he's like, you got nothing. And then he's like, well, I'm not alone. And then the Joker walks out the shadows, and he's like, he hits him, and then he looks at the Joker, and he's like, we're not telling anybody about this ever. And the two of them beat the crap out of the Batman Who Laughs together, because the Joker is, he doesn't want the Batman, evil Joker Batman.
No.
But that's the top 10 right there. Which
So I have a question.
What
What year did the Killing Joke storyline come out?
That was one. It was one issue.
Okay.
was
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, because there was a
80s
band
or
from
90s.
I'm not sure. There was an album I came across years ago. It was in the mid '90s.
Google it.
From a band called Killing Joke, and it was like a kind of a cross between like maybe Psychic TV and My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. It was like a somewhat industrial sound, but it was funky. It's a really great album.
This was like a late 80s, early 90s kind of thing.
I don't
I just
remember.
wonder
You
if they
need to
took the
Google it.
name.
Super long.
If the band
ago.
took the name, I'll have to look into that.
Super long time ago.
If you know about Killing Joke, the band, let
Tell
us
it,
know.
people, everyone.
That was Brian Boland was the artist, and I can't remember who the writer was. It might have been Doug Mink or whatever. He did a lot of old Batman stuff.
All right,
So,
well, it's been real. It's been fun. Can't say it's been real fun.
yeah. Hey, if you're watching these videos, and you're subscribing to our channel, we really appreciate it. But comment below if you've got your top 10 list. Throw them on the comments. We'll comment on you. If we like your list, we'll pin it for up to the top. And if you have ideas for top 5, top 10 lists, whatever, shoot them back at us. And if you watch any of our other videos, comment on those. Let us know. Let us know what you think of things and what you want to see. And
Thanks for joining us.
yeah, we'll see you next time on Pop Culture Conversations.